Welcome to the Echo Tips podcast.
Gadzooks.
Here's a sneak peek into what we're going to cover in this week's episode of the Echo Tips podcast.
Speed is now at 75%.
Mr. Button sank down upon a chair near his son and conceived.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Echo Tips podcast. This is going to be a goodie from our archives, peeking back into yesteryear, and actually way back into yesteryear, Season 1, Episode 37, dealing with adjusting the playback speed of your Audible book on your Amazon Echo device. So this wasn't a feature that we had with the Amazon Echo from the very beginning, but later was added. And so if you have a particular audiobook that you would really maybe like to speed up, maybe because you feel like the narrator is, a little slower paced, or if you feel like you want to slow it down, maybe because, it's a pretty complex material, or they're maybe kind of reading it at a particularly fast pace, the versatility to do that on your Amazon Echo. It's pretty cool. And so anyhow, this episode was actually very popular and listened to, I think, almost 5 times more than the average episode. So this is a very popular topic, and I love Audible books from Amazon as well. I have a slew of Audible books, and every few months I'll probably end up firing up my membership again and get a particular book or series I can't get anywhere else but on Amazon. And even at the tail end of the show, I'll mention a life hack about how you can maybe get one cheaper. But before we get into that too far, I'd like to welcome our new listeners to the show. Welcome to the Echo Tips podcast. I'm the host. My name is David Ward. I'm an IT trainer and assistive technology trainer, and it's good to have you here with us. And you'll find that the Echo Tips podcast is, a 15 to 25 minute episode weekly show now in its 7th season. And if by all means you new listeners are trying to solve a particular problem, or you're wondering, can I do this on my Echo, or how do I integrate with this service or that, by all means, go back and check out our back catalog of some 7 seasons, because there's a good chance we've covered it. Almost every imaginable piece of hardware they've had that's had the A-Lady in it, just all sorts of things in our back catalog you can go check out. Now, you can go to your podcast player of choice and go through that listing, although it may cut off sometimes, only go back maybe 50 or so episodes. Plus, sometimes scrolling through that list, you maybe have to hit the next button to get to the next page. You can find a pretty comprehensive list from episode 1 all the way down to pretty much the current times. I'll try to make sure it's updated on our blog at CertDoctor, C-E-R-T Doctor, that's DOCTOR.com, and then click on blog, and you should find a pretty comprehensive list there if that aids you in trying to figure out what you're trying to figure out. But anyway, before we go directly into our show and hit the rewind button, we're going to go to a brief message about our show, and then we'll be back with how to adjust the playback of your Audible book on your Amazon Echo. We'll be back in just a second. Hey, how you doing? It's me again. Not Mario. I was about to say Mario. It's me, Dave. So we often have a little sponsorship rate in here, but and we do appreciate all the sponsors that got the Echo Tips podcast started and supported for so many years under the New Vision. It was a company and then a program of goodwill, and we really do appreciate all that. At present, we don't currently have any sponsorship, but we may be reaching out to you all here in the community about ways you'd like to support the podcast, and who knows, a tip jar, who knows? We might come up with different ideas. But nonetheless, I want to put a little call to action in here. There are a lot of nonprofits in our communities that are doing good work. Maybe you could use some volunteer assistance, maybe some of your elbow grease. Maybe you could give them a ring, or maybe you use a few dollars to do some good work in their community. And so, by all means, if there's a nonprofit that comes to mind, maybe give them a ring or send them a few dollars. But if you don't have one in mind, here's one that I do appreciate and I use pretty regularly every couple of weeks, well, maybe every week almost, maybe a couple times a week. And it is a nonprofit. You often don't think of it that way, but it's Wikipedia. That's right, Wikipedia, the online encyclopedia that has volunteers that submit those articles, that proof and check and make sure this has citations and all of that, is fundamentally supported as a nonprofit through the Wikimedia Foundation. Now, you may never occur to you, but when you're on that site and you're reading an article, you notice there's no ads on there. Nobody's trying to sell you a Coca-Cola or whatever, or paper towels or whatever, shoes, or clothes. There's no ads on there, and that is because it is wholly supported by donations. And so, by all means, it's somebody I send a few bucks to almost every year, and you could go to donate.wikimedia.org to donate to them. All right, well, let's get right back to the show. Okay, we're back. All right, so I'm going to pop in this cassette tape, and we're going to go back to episode 37, dealing with changing the playback speed on your Audible books. And I apologize, it sounds like I probably was getting over a cold when I did this demo, or it was allergy season or something. But let's go back to that episode. And it's pretty cool, because sometimes you have a reader of a book and they're a little slow, or maybe there's certain passages where you'd like to pick up the pace, or maybe they're talking too fast and you'd like to slow it down. And so there's different options for doing that now on your Amazon Echo. But before I demonstrate that, it would be a good idea for us to do something we do in all of our episodes almost, and that is shut the microphone off on your Amazon Echo. Because if I'm talking here and giving you examples in the studio and your Echo hears it, it might interrupt you listening to this tutorial. So if you locate your Echo, if you have a round one, it has buttons on the top, and there's one with a silhouetted microphone on it with a slash through it. So if you press that button, it should turn the ring on the top red, and then her ears are shut off. Now, if you have one with a screen on it, like the Echo Show, along the top rim of the screen, if the screen's facing you, there should be a button similarly on that top left. You press that, it'll make a similar sound, and it'll have a little red line across the bottom of the screen. That tells you that our ears are shut off. So I'll just give you a moment to do that, and then we'll press on. Okay, all right, so now that we're ready to go, let me just briefly outline. If you're interested in more about audiobooks, you can look back at Season 1, Episode number 19, where we talk about reading books and the different ways you can do that, either using the Audible service with the audiobooks. We even talk about some cheats or hacks, you might say, to get cheap audiobooks and the ways you can do that, or even Kindle books, which are usually designed to be read with a tablet or with your eyes or the like, but you can have read back with synthesized speech. So there's a mechanism for that as well. But in particular today, we're going to be talking about using the audio professionally recorded in-studio audiobooks through the Audible service, and how you can change the playback speed of those books. So I believe right now I have Benjamin Button queued up on our audios. So let's see if I can get the Alexa to play that. Alexa, play my Audible book.
Getting your selection from Audible. Resuming the curious case of Benjamin Button.
I asked for something to eat. Here his voice rose to a shrill note of protest. And they brought me a bottle of milk.
Alexa, read faster.
Speed is now at 125%.
Mr. Button sank down upon a chair near his son and concealed his face in...
Read faster.
Speed is now at 150%.
This is a fine place to keep a youngster of quiet tastes. With all this yelling and howling,
so you can tell
haven't
it's a
been
lot
able to get a wink of
faster.
sleep. I asked for something to eat.
Alexa,
Here his voice
read slower.
Speed is now at 125%.
Here his voice rose to a shrill note of protest.
Read slower.
Now at normal speed.
And they brought me a bottle of milk.
Alexa,
Mr. Buttons,
read slower.
Speed is now at 75%.
Mr. Button sank down upon a chair near his son and concealed
Alexa,
his face in...
Stop. Okay, so hopefully you get the idea how that works. You can speed up the speed and you can slow down the speed. All right, well, that brings this episode to a close, and we do appreciate your listenership. I told you before the show, though, that I would be giving you guys a little sneak peek into a life hack that I think I mentioned there back in that old episode about how to get a cheap Audible book. And one way that I've discovered often, especially if it's an author that I really enjoy and I kind of follow on Amazon, is their books. Often, if you go to the Kindle section of the store or find the Kindle listing of the book, let's say it's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, right? You find that Kindle listing. Often, sometimes, depending on how the author or the publisher posted it, there sometimes will be a checkbox next to the Audible buy button that says, hey, would you also like to buy the audio version of this book from Audible at the same time? And it usually is for a discounted price. So often the Kindle book may be, I think of one author I was listening to, maybe it was like $4 or $5. But then I could get the corresponding audiobook version for like another $5 or something like that. So that's just kind of a handy little tip, little life hack, and often comes out a little ahead of the actual Audible membership, which is usually closer to like $15 or maybe a little more than that. So that's a super handy way, and sometimes it'll even be cheaper than that. Sometimes it'll be like a $3 Kindle book, and then you add on another $3 to get the audiobook version. So you may even get it under $10. But it's a super handy way to sometimes find a discounted Audible book on Amazon. Okay, well, anywho, so this will wrap things up. If you want to find out more about me or send thoughts or suggestions for a future episode, you can email us at ecotipspodcast@certdoctor, C-E-R-T, doctor, DOCTOR.com. Or you can look up more about our past episodes, as I said, on that same domain name and then click blog. And here's hoping we'll be able to test out some AI goodness. I'm on the waiting list to get into that with the A-Lady Plus. And so hopefully soon we'll be demoing some really awesome stuff for y'all. But until next time, it's time to turn the ears on your Echo back on. Start practicing some of the many things you've learned. I'm David Ward for me, I guess, and me alone. I was going to say for my old program name. See, it's an old habit. Okay, so I'll just say I'm David Ward signing off. We do thank you for listening.